Ladies and gentlemen, respect. It's not given. It's earned. Not with titles, not with money, but with character. Today, I'm here to talk about 5 destructive habits that silently rob you of the respect you deserve. If you want to stand tall, if you want to be heard, if you want to lead, you must remove these habits. 1. Complaining without action. Let's get one thing straight. Everyone complains. It's natural. We face stress, pressure, unfair treatment, and obstacles that seem immovable. But here's the truth. Complaining doesn't change anything. It might feel good in the moment. It might make you feel heard. But if that's where it ends, you're not solving a problem. You're just amplifying it. People who constantly complain train themselves to focus on the negative. They build a mindset that sees problems but never possibilities. And over time, that mindset starts to shape how others see them too. Think about it. How do you feel when you're around someone who always points out what's wrong but never offers a way to fix it? Do you feel inspired, empowered, motivated? No, you feel drained. Respect is earned by those who look at a challenge and say, yes, it's hard, but here's what I can do. Respect is earned by problem solvers, not problem repeaters. When you choose to act instead of complain, even in small ways, you set yourself apart. You're not just acknowledging the issue, you're rising above it. People around you begin to notice. They start to turn to you, to trust your voice, because they know you don't waste time pointing fingers. You take responsibility. You take initiative. And let's be clear. This doesn't mean you stay silent when something is wrong. Speaking up is necessary. But there's a difference between voicing concern with the intention to improve and venting endlessly with no plan to change. One builds respect. The other erodes it. So the next time you're tempted to complain, pause. Ask yourself, what am I willing to do about it? Even the smallest action, asking a question, offering a solution, taking the first step, moves you from the crowd of critics into the circle of leaders. People respect those who take charge of their attitude, their words, and their actions, because those are the people who don't just survive difficult situations, they change them. 2. Talking more than you listen. In a world full of noise, the most powerful people are often the quietest ones. Why? Because they listen. Too often, we equate talking with strength. We think being the loudest voice in the room earns us influence. We interrupt, dominate conversations, and push our opinions without pause, convinced that we're making an impact. But here's the hard truth. People don't respect noise, they respect understanding. When you talk more than you listen, you send a message, even if you don't mean to. You're telling people, my voice matters more than yours. My thoughts are more important than what you have to say. And whether you realize it or not, over time, that attitude pushes people away. It builds walls instead of trust. It makes you appear arrogant, impatient, and out of touch. But when you listen, truly listen, something powerful happens. You show humility. You show maturity. You create space for others to feel seen, heard, and valued. And that is the foundation of respect. Listening doesn't mean staying silent so you can talk again. It means being present. It means asking questions with curiosity, not just waiting for your turn to speak. It means listening with the intent to understand, not to respond or rebut. Leaders who listen are rare, but they're remembered. They're the ones who walk into a room and make people feel like they matter. They don't need to shout. They don't need to constantly prove their intelligence, because their attention does the talking. And here's something else. When you listen, you learn. You gain insight. You notice things others miss. You catch details, emotions, opportunities, things that the talkers are too busy filling the air to notice. In relationships, in business, in life, being a good listener doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. So if you want to earn respect, master the art of silence. Let others speak. Hear them fully. Reflect before responding. Because when you listen deeply, your words will carry more weight when you finally do speak. 3. Making promises. You can't keep your words are your signature. Every promise you make is a contract of trust, an invisible agreement between you and another person that says, you can count on me. Break that once, and it's a crack. Break it twice, and it's a pattern. Break it often enough, and it's who you become. Unreliable. Let's be honest. It's easy to promise. In the moment, it feels good. You want to please someone. You want to seem capable, dependable, generous. So you say yes, even when you know deep down, you're not sure you can follow through. Maybe it's to avoid conflict. Maybe it's to impress. Maybe it's just a reflex. But a promise is never just words. It's a mirror of your character. People respect those who mean what they say, not just in the big moments, but in the small, everyday commitments. I'll call you back. I'll help you move. I'll get that done by Friday. Break those little promises, and over time, they add up to something heavy: disappointment. The more often people hear your promises go unfulfilled, the more they begin to tune you out. They stop counting on you. They stop believing in you. They might smile and nod, but inside, they're saying, "Here we go again." And here's the worst part. You start losing respect for yourself. When you know you're not living up to your word, it chips away at your self-trust. It breeds guilt, anxiety, avoidance. You become hesitant to commit to anything, because deep down, you don't believe yourself either. So how do you earn that respect back? By becoming intentional with your word. Don't make a promise just to sound good. Don't say yes when you mean maybe. Don't overcommit because you're afraid to disappoint someone in the moment. Because broken promises hurt far more later than an honest no up front. Start small. Keep your word even when it's inconvenient. Especially when it's inconvenient. That's how you build reputation. That's how people come to know that when you speak, it means something. Consistency is more impressive than charm. Follow through is more powerful than grand gestures. And reliability, that's a rare currency in today's world, and it earns deep respect. 4. Stop making excuses. Expanded. Excuses are the language of limitation. They are comforting lies we tell ourselves to avoid the discomfort of truth. When we blame circumstances, people, or timing for our shortcomings, what we're really doing is surrendering our power. You cannot grow and make excuses at the same time. The two cannot coexist. You'll often hear people say things like, "I didn't get the opportunity. I don't have enough time. No one believed in me. The system is against people like me." Let's be clear. Yes, life is unfair. Some people are born into better situations. Some get more support. Others have connections. But the harsh truth, the world doesn't reward excuses. It rewards execution. And every minute you spend explaining why you can't is a minute you could have spent figuring out how you can. Look at the most respected people in the world. Leaders, entrepreneurs, athletes, activists. They've all had setbacks. Many of them had less than you. But the difference is, they refused to be defined by their limitation. They chose discipline over doubt, accountability over blame. Let's say you're late to work. You can say, "There was traffic." Or you can say, "I didn't plan my morning well enough." Which one builds more respect? The second, because it takes guts to say, "It was on me." And every time you take responsibility, even when it's uncomfortable, you grow stronger in the eyes of others, and in your own self-belief. Excuses are like weeds. The more you allow them to grow, the more they choke out your potential. Every excuse is a missed opportunity to improve. Every excuse is a reason someone else will be chosen over you. Every excuse is a moment where respect is lost. Not because you failed, but because you refuse to own it. Real growth begins when you look in the mirror and say, "I'm responsible for my life, no one else." That's when people start respecting you, not because you're perfect, but because you're honest, accountable, and driven to rise above your own excuses. 5. Eliminate complaining. Expanded. Complaining is a silent poison. It creeps into conversations, corrodes your mindset, and repels the very people whose respect you seek. It's easy to complain. It feels good for a moment. It makes us feel justified, like the world owes us sympathy. But here's the reality. The world doesn't respect complainers. It tolerates them at best, and ignores them at worst. When you constantly complain, what you're really saying is, "I have no control. I'm powerless. I'm a victim." And respect never follows the victim mindset. It follows the one who rises above, the one who faces adversity, and still chooses action. Think about the people you admire. Do they spend their time whining about how hard life is? Or do they talk about solutions, progress, and lessons learned? Strong people face the same storms you do. They just refuse to be soaked in self-pity. They channel their frustration into fuel, not noise. Here's the truth. Life is hard. You'll face unfairness. People will betray you. You'll lose time, money, relationships. You'll be overlooked, underpaid, disrespected. But every second you spend complaining about it is a second you're not changing it. Complaining gives temporary comfort and permanent stagnation. It changes nothing except how people perceive you. The more you complain, the less people want to listen, because energy is contagious. People respect strength, composure, and positivity, especially in chaos. When you stay calm and focused while others spiral into negativity, you stand out. You become a pillar, and pillars earn respect. Let's be clear, expressing emotions is not the same as complaining. It's okay to talk about problems, but not if it becomes your identity. Venting leads to healing. Complaining leads to helplessness. Know the difference. One earns respect, the other drains it. If something's wrong, fix it. If you can't fix it, accept it. If you can't accept it, remove yourself. But don't complain about it. Every time you choose action over whining, ownership over blame, you gain strength, and others notice. Quietly, consistently, your reputation grows, not as a complainer, but as a doer. No one respects the person who always has a problem. They respect the one who brings solutions, who lifts the energy in the room, who keeps moving forward when it's easier to sit down and moan. Respect the weight of your words, and refuse to let complaints steal your power. 6. Remove the habit of comparing yourself to others. Expanded comparison is the thief of joy and the enemy of self-respect. When you constantly measure your worth against someone else's highlight reel, you don't just lose confidence, you lose your identity. You begin to doubt your path, your timing, your value, and that doubt radiates. It shows in your posture, your words, your decisions. People don't respect someone who looks like they're always trying to be someone else. They respect the one who owns who they are. Let's be honest, we live in a world that encourages comparison. Social media makes it effortless. Scroll long enough, and someone always seems richer, more attractive, more successful, more together than you. But what you're seeing is their edited life, not their real life. You're comparing your behind the scenes to their polished trailer, and that's not fair, to you or to them. Comparison creates insecurity, it breeds envy, and envy turns into bitterness, subtle criticism, even self-sabotage. You might start talking down about others, just to feel better. You might make decisions, not because they're right for you, but because you want to catch up. That's not growth, that's desperation, and desperation doesn't earn respect. Authenticity does. You need to understand this. Your path is yours alone. No one else has your background, your experiences, your pain, your fire. So stop running someone else's race. Run yours, and run it well. When you focus inward, you get better. When you focus outward, you get bitter, and bitterness shows. People gravitate to those who are secure in themselves. Not perfect, but real. Not flashy, but grounded. They respect the person who's comfortable being the underdog, the late bloomer, the quiet worker, in the shadows, because that person isn't trying to impress, they're trying to improve, and that's powerful. If you want to earn respect, remove the habit of comparison, and replace it with the habit of appreciation. Appreciate your progress, appreciate your uniqueness, celebrate others, without questioning your own worth. This isn't a competition, it's a journey, and the ones who walk it with confidence, clarity, and authenticity, they're the ones who rise. 7. Remove the habit of over-promising and under-delivering. Expanded. One of the fastest ways to lose respect, both in your personal and professional life, is to say more than you can do, and do less than you said. Over-promising and under-delivering doesn't just damage your reputation, it creates doubt. And once people doubt your word, regaining their trust is an uphill climb. It often starts with good intentions. You want to impress, you want to be liked, you want to seem reliable, ambitious, capable. So you say yes to everything. You commit to more than you can handle. You make bold claims, without a plan. But when deadlines slip, when promises fall flat, when expectations aren't met, people don't remember your intentions, they remember your results. Understand this. Words are powerful, but only when backed by consistent action. You don't earn respect by talking big. You earn it by delivering consistently, even if it's quiet, even if no one's watching. When you say you'll do something, and then actually do it, on time, without excuses, you separate yourself from the crowd. You become known as dependable, and dependability is a rare form of strength. There's nothing wrong with ambition. There's nothing wrong with setting bold goals. But before you make a promise, stop and ask yourself, can I actually deliver this? Will I follow through? Is this just excitement talking, or commitment speaking? Because when you speak carelessly, when you say yes just to please people, you're not building relationships, you're building landmines. And every broken promise is one step closer to losing respect. It's better to underpromise and overdeliver, not because you want to play it safe, but because you want your actions to exceed your words, not fall short of them. If you say you'll be there at
9, be there at 8:55. If you say you'll finish it by Friday, have it ready by Thursday. Show people that your word is your bond, not a marketing pitch. Overpromising might win attention, but delivering is what earns respect. And the people who rise in any field, business, sports, leadership, life, are the ones who quietly execute, who show up, who deliver what they say they will, over and over again. When your name becomes a promise, that's when you've earned true respect. 8. Remove the habit of avoiding difficult conversations. Expanded. One of the most overlooked habits that silently erodes respect is the avoidance of difficult conversations. We dodge them out of fear of conflict, fear of rejection, fear of making things worse. So instead we stay silent, we pretend, we smile through discomfort, we tolerate what we shouldn't, and suppress what we should express. But here's the hard truth. People don't respect those who avoid truth. They respect those who face it. Avoiding difficult conversations doesn't make you kind, it makes you unclear. And unclear communication leads to broken trust, unmet expectations, and unresolved tension. Whether it's giving feedback, setting boundaries, expressing your needs, or confronting disrespect, when you avoid speaking up, you teach others that your voice doesn't matter. And if you don't respect your own voice, why should they? You can't lead without honesty. You can't build real relationships without transparency. And you definitely can't earn lasting respect by pretending everything is fine when it's not. Real respect is forged in the fire of uncomfortable truth. It's born when you choose to have that tough talk, even when your voice shakes. It's earned when you say what needs to be said, not to hurt, but to heal, not to attack, but to align. Let's be clear, having difficult conversations doesn't mean being aggressive or cruel. It means being courageous. It means saying this isn't working, and we need to talk about it. It means telling a friend when they've crossed a line, or telling a team member when they need to step up. It means telling yourself the truth about what you're avoiding. That kind of honesty isn't easy, but it's powerful. When you face difficult conversations head on, people may not like what you say, but they will respect that you had the courage to say it, that you were real, that you stood for something, that you didn't run from discomfort, but walked into it with clarity and purpose. Avoidance is a short-term escape that leads to long-term damage. Clarity may sting in the moment, but it heals in the long run. If you want to grow in leadership, in relationships, in life, you must be willing to have the conversations that most people run from, because respect isn't built through silence. It's built through truth, spoken with strength, delivered with grace, rooted in integrity. 9. Remove the habit of playing the victim. Expanded. If you truly want to earn respect in your career, in relationships, and in life, there's one habit you must completely destroy: playing the victim. That mindset might earn you sympathy for a while, but it will never earn you respect, because at its core, the victim mentality is a declaration of helplessness. And helplessness, when chosen over and over again, robs you of dignity, authority, and power. Let's be real. Life is going to hurt. People will betray you. You'll get overlooked. You'll face losses you didn't deserve, setbacks you didn't expect, and pain you didn't cause. But the question is not, why did this happen to me? The real question is, what will I do now? Everyone has scars. Everyone has a story. But the people we respect most, the ones who rise, who lead, who inspire, are the ones who refuse to be defined by their wounds. They own their story without being owned by it. They've been through the fire, but they don't use it as an excuse to stop. They use it as proof that they can't be broken. The victim mindset is seductive. It gives you a false sense of comfort. It lets you avoid responsibility. It allows you to say, "It's not my fault," and expect the world to adjust to your pain. But here's the truth: staying in that place too long turns your pain into a prison. And eventually, people stop listening. Not because they don't care, but because they see that you've stopped trying to stand up. Respect comes when you take responsibility, not just for what you caused, but for what you carry. You may not have chosen your burden, but you can choose your response. That choice is what separates the powerful from the powerless. That choice is what builds leaders. That choice is what earns admiration. You want people to listen to you. Inspire them, not by pretending life is perfect, but by showing them that you keep walking anyway, that you rise without resentment, that you face the world with strength, even when your heart is heavy. Because when you show resilience, not performance, not self-pity, but real quiet strength, people see that, they feel it, and they remember it. So let go of the victim role. You've worn it long enough. It may have protected you, but now it's limiting you. Replace it with the mindset of a survivor, a warrior, a builder, someone who says, "I've been knocked down, but I refuse to stay down." That's the energy people respect. That's the energy that changes lives. 10. Remove the habit of being easily offended. Expanded in a world where outrage is often louder than wisdom, the ability to remain unshaken is a rare and deeply respected strength. If you want to truly command respect, you must remove the habit of being easily offended. Constant offense signals emotional fragility, and people don't follow the fragile, they follow the grounded. Here's the truth. Life is full of friction. People will say the wrong thing, they'll misunderstand you, they'll criticize you, sometimes out of ignorance, sometimes out of envy, and sometimes because they simply see the world differently. But when your first reaction is always offense, you give your power away. You become reactive, not reflective. And the more reactive you are, the less people trust you to handle real pressure. Being easily offended doesn't make you righteous, it makes you unpredictable. And unpredictability kills respect. People begin to walk on eggshells around you. They stop telling you the truth, not because they agree with you, but because they're afraid of your reaction. And once people start hiding their real thoughts from you, you've already lost their respect. Let's be clear, standing up for yourself and being offended by everything are not the same. Strength doesn't mean silence in the face of injustice, but strength also doesn't mean letting every disagreement become a personal attack. You must learn to discern the difference between a real threat and a moment of discomfort, because discomfort is not disrespect, correction is not criticism, and disagreement is not hatred. If you want to grow, you need people to challenge you, question you, and even oppose you. Iron sharpens iron, but only if the iron doesn't shatter under heat. The most respected people are those who can hold their ground without losing their head. They don't react to everything. They listen, pause, process, and then respond with calm confidence. They're not constantly offended because they know who they are. And when you're secure in yourself, someone else's opinion doesn't rattle you, it refines you. So stop making offense your identity. Stop giving other people the remote control to your emotions. You're not a victim of every word spoken in your direction. You're not meant to absorb every tone, every opinion, every critique like a sponge. Let things roll off your back. Build thicker skin, not because you don't care, but because you care more about growth than approval, more about truth than comfort, more about character than ego. Emotional maturity is quiet power, and when people see that you don't crumble under pressure or explode over words, they begin to see you differently. They lean in, they listen, and slowly they start to follow, not because you shouted, but because you led. 11. Remove the habit of seeking validation from others. Expanded. If you want to earn real respect, deep, lasting, unshakable respect, then you must stop chasing validation like it's oxygen, because the moment your self-worth is dependent on other people's approval, you've already surrendered control. And no one respects someone who doesn't own themselves. We're conditioned from a young age to seek validation, gold stars, likes, praise, applause. We're taught to measure our value based on how others react, and slowly we become addicted to that external affirmation. We post something and wait for the likes. We speak and immediately scan the room for approval. We make choices, not because they align with our truth, but because we're hoping someone will finally say, "You're enough." But here's the harsh reality. The world doesn't owe you validation. Some people will never approve of you, no matter what you do. And if you build your life trying to please them, you will lose yourself. You'll become a shapeshifter, constantly adjusting to the room, to the crowd, to the moment, never fully standing in your own identity. People don't respect those who constantly seek permission to be themselves. They respect those who give themselves permission, who walk into a room not needing attention, but carrying intention. There's a quiet power in someone who knows who they are, without having to prove it, without needing applause, without needing agreement. When you stop seeking validation, you stop shrinking, you stop explaining yourself, you stop apologizing for your ambition, your values, your uniqueness. And that's when people begin to notice, not because you begged for it, but because you embodied it. Because self-respect is magnetic. It draws others in, not to your performance, but to your presence. Validation isn't bad, but it should be a bonus, not a requirement. If your confidence dies every time someone disapproves, you were never confident, you were just performing. Real confidence, the kind that earns respect, comes from doing what's right, even when no one claps, even when they criticize, even when they misunderstand. You don't need to be loud to be respected. You need to be rooted in who you are, what you stand for, and where you're going. When you validate yourself, you stop asking the world for permission. You become the author, not the audience. And that's when your voice carries weight.